Dann ist alles gut. All right, we are still in the testing phase and we're going to wait for the audience to come. We're on live, absolutely. I'm going to ask my camera person, is there anyone on board? How many?
So.
How many people? None? Okay, we're testing still, we're still working. I'm going to go behind the camera, I'll be right back.
Wo sehe ich das? Nikolai?
Ah, okay. Ich habe schon eine Person. Okay, alles gut. Alles gut, danke. All right, we are in fact without a crew tonight. Although I have someone here, absolutely, who's going to help me out. We're trying out with the gimbal, which is actually working out slowly and surely. We've been working on it all week long. And we are still going to wait for additional guests to come on board. I think, although I cannot see who's on board, okay, that will be phase 2 of my technical experience. But I know that Nilofer is on board, and perhaps my new cameraman will be able to tell me how many are on board. You see Nilofer?
I see Nilofer.
Yeah. Anyone else? No? Well, Nilofer, hi. Thank you for being on board. We're going to wait just a few more minutes. As you can see, I am dressed for the autumn weather. It's cold and it's warm inside because of the strong lights. The spotlights are quite strong. Okay, so we'll be starting very soon, whether we're 1 or 2. I'm going to ask my interim camera person to let me know how many are on board. Yes, okay. So we now have 7 p.m. I'm going to start. Okay, Nilofer, this is going to be a private show for yourself. All right? Okay. I'm going to welcome everyone. Maybe there are more than one. But Nilofer, this is, if you're the only one, it's all for you. However, you won't be able to taste it. You will have to replicate it at home. All right? That's a deal. Okay. Tonight is actually a romantic Canadian snack dinner. And what does that mean? Am I coming up with alcohol bottles? Oh, no, no, no. This is rose water. By romantic dinner, we normally mean, yes, some may focus on the alcohol, but that's not the case tonight here at all. In fact, we're going to be enjoying 3 different dips, and they are hot, or they're supposed to be hot, and it's cheese. Canadians love cheese. And the recipes that I have here tonight are predominantly French Canadian, where I come from, although I'm a naturalized Canadian. And French Canadians, they absolutely go for cheese. We have French cheese here tonight. Now, I'm going to ask the camera person, does Nilofer have a message, Matthias? Is there any message coming up? Nilofer, am I speaking loud enough? This is all very new today. Okay, I'm going to assume that I am talking loud enough. Tonight, we're going to be working with cheese. And I'm going to open up the box, where it's actually brie. Lovely, lovely cheese. And here we go. I'm going to unwrap it. It's the easiest way to entertain and to have a lovely romantic evening, tete-a-tete, or the 2 of you. Whoever the 2 of you, it doesn't really matter. Brothers and sisters, lovers, husband and wife, husband, wife. Who cares? It doesn't really matter. The thing here tonight is that the romantic dish is so delicious and so easy to make. So as you can see, I've just pried open the packaging from the brie cheese. Now I've washed my hands and they're clean. And let me just show you the cheese. This is lovely, lovely room temperature brie cheese. And you can see it's wobbling already. But what I am going to do, since we're going to be, in fact, if you're going to replicate it at home, you'll be baking it for about 10 minutes at 180 degrees. Now, this is how it looks like on the bottom. On top, you have the straight lines. And I will put it back into the container, back into its original recipient. And this is how you're going to bake it. You're going to put it straight into the oven. You will have to have aluminum foil under this particular cheese, just in case it runs. So here we go. Now, this is, you're going to have it inside. But before that, we're going to be removing the top layer. Very easy. We're just going to cut it. I'm going to put it right back here into the original container. Actually, it's much easier to cut it when it's straight cold from the refrigerator. But for you tonight, it's important to see that brie at room temperature becomes very soft, and it's actually exquisite. And I don't throw it out. Many others do not prefer to eat it, but I put it right back into the container, which will be melted together with our toppings. Now, why is this a romantic dinner or a romantic dish? So easy. This is for two. Can you imagine? It's a dinner, it's dessert, it's an entree, and it's a finale too. It's absolutely exquisite once you bake it with the sweet and savory toppings. Now I'm going to ask a question to my cameraman or camera person. If you feel like going back to your computer and do all the technical work, that's fine. I think we're doing great. But if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. Actually, my camera person is my husband. Okay, so I've cut the top. It doesn't look very pretty, but it's all right. And as you can see, the cuttings are in here. I'm going to place it right back inside. And we're now going to proceed with the first recipe. So the first one, it's half a kilo. So you have to realize 250 grams or a quarter kilo per person. You don't have to eat it all, but that's the idea. If you're having a party, not necessarily a romantic party, but a nice party and a fun party, and you can place that onto one of your platings, and with lots of bread and vegetables, and then you can have everyone share it. Okay, the question is, what is French Canadian? French Canadian, they absolutely love to have maple syrup on many dishes, sweet dishes and savory dishes. And maple syrup is made from the sap or the liquid from the maple tree that exudes the maple sap, and then boiled down to the syrup consistency. I use organic, and there's a good reason for it, although most of them are organic, but I made sure there are no chemicals in here. Okay, so this is the first step. You're going to open up the bottle. And by the way, for those of you living in the United Arab Emirates, or in the Gulf area, you're able to get the maple syrup through Amazon or at Lulu. In fact, that's one of the major stores owned by an Indian family, as well as Carrefour and at Co-op. Now you have many other grocery stores, and you can all order them online as well. This one here is from Germany. While I was living in the United Arab Emirates, for those of you who know, I was there for 5 years, I bought my maple syrup from the Co-op and from Lulu. Okay, so we're going to drizzle it. We're going to actually dunk it. We're going to just put a lot of it on it. Yes, it's going to pour out, doesn't matter. There we go. So we have poured at least, it's already running. It doesn't matter, just allow it to run. At least a quarter cup. Now, what we're going to do, the French Canadians, they love their maple syrup. I'm just putting a few incisions in here, so the maple syrup will actually go right through to the cheese. Now, if it runs on the side, it doesn't matter. It's part of the decoration. There we go. Okay. Now, maple syrup without walnuts or maple syrup without pecans is not a French Canadian dish. So, French Canadian, what do they love? Pecans. These pecans, they look like walnuts, which you can also get at any store across the Gulf area, North America, South America, or if you're in Europe as well. You dry roast them first. And why dry roast them? This is to make sure the flavor comes to the top, and you get to actually enjoy the toasted, oven toasted without fat, just dry baked or dry toasted pecans with maple syrup. It's so lovely. It's like eating a cookie. So we're going to put in about half a cup, 3/4 of a cup right on top. And don't forget, it's going to be baked again, okay? For about 10 minutes at 180, depending on your oven. So I'm going to keep just a few for our decoration. So there we go. I hope you're able to see this in the camera. And I'm going to ask my camera person, is there anyone else in addition to fantastic. I'm going to now say welcome on board, all three of you. Thank you so much for coming. I am now going to take a short break. Now that I know that there are three of you, perhaps more, I'm going to welcome you all on board here, by the way, in Berlin. You can actually look right through my garden, although it's quite dark now. And I've exaggerated a little bit. I don't live in Berlin, I live in Brandenburg, but we're at the border. In fact, we're bordering Berlin. We're in the east part of Brandenburg, close, if you're flying into Berlin, this is the new, and we're very close to the new airport. And why am I living here? I'm married to a German, and I am Canadian, yes. And we lived about 25 years, my husband much longer, abroad. And mainly the last posting for us was the United Arab Emirates, and I lived there for 5 years. And one of you, I don't know who the others are, but one of you I know very well, Nilofer, she is my business coach, and she's on board as well. So for those of you who don't know, Nilofer, have a look. Once I'm done here on the list, you'll see Nilofer Savda, she's on Bridges of Light as well. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Gaetano, or Gaetano Vivo, who is the owner and host of Bridges of Light, that I'm able to be on his platform conducting the food show. All right, so let's get on with it, all right? Okay, so we've actually stopped here by placing by pouring maple syrup, pecan nuts, and now a little more. We have to add just a little more. Now, what do Canadians like? They love cranberries. Now, cranberries here in Germany, the dry cranberries, yes, they are available. The fresh ones sometimes. And what Canadians also like in the meantime, they've learned from the Europeans to eat sour cherries. So we have a choice. You can put actually sour cherries, or typical French Canadian, actually across Canada, but especially the French Canadian, they love their cranberries. And they've been dried or semi-dried and then soaked in a little bit of oil, no sugar. And you can also buy them at, for those of you who are watching me from the United Arab Emirates, you can buy this at Lulu, and especially at Lulu. In fact, you can buy them in the large bins. All right, for those of you living across anywhere else around the world, Amazon is my savior. I live out in the village and I can't go into town most often than not, so I order most of my ingredients from Amazon. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I hope you're able to see this as well. You have a mixture of sour cherries and cranberries. Why do we French Canadians like the mixture of savory and sweet? We love mixing. Chocolate with salt, cakes with a bit of salt. I know the Europeans do it as well, and the United Arab Emirates too, but we put a lot more salt. We love the combination of sweets and savory. And we're doing the same thing here on this cheese. Now, what we can do is just sprinkle a few walnuts. Walnuts go very well, just like pecans do, with maple syrup. Okay, now what would we do? We would have to, without additional, some type of maple syrup. It's not maple syrup. These are maple flakes. From the syrup, it's been dried and then flaked. And let me just show you, and I hope you're able to see this. Cameraman, can we see it? Okay. These are maple flakes, which again, you can order via Amazon, wherever you are. And you can order them from the UK as well. And here, this you can see, we have a, this is a bag full of the maple flakes, or in French, flocons d'érable. Without French, Canada, no, we have both languages. Okay, so this is wonderful. Here we go, and we're going to sprinkle right on top, a lot of it. A lot, and if you go on the side, it doesn't matter. It's part of the decoration now. Okay, so here we go. And make sure that you feel it so that you can actually enjoy, producing this particular dish. Okay, what else do we need? Maybe a few flakes of almonds. This is just to enhance the flavor and just to make it pretty as well. Okay, just a few flakes, that's about a teaspoon. And now, what can we do? What will we do in Canada without raspberries? And since our winters are very long, anywhere between 7 to 8 months, if not longer. We freeze what we harvest. And the best time to harvest are sun-ripened raspberries. If you buy the raspberries fresh here in Germany, they've not necessarily been harvested when they were sun-ripened, but the ones that are frozen were harvested when they were sun-ripened. So here we go. I'm going to be sprinkling frozen raspberries. Make sure it's frozen. It's so much easier to work with. They'll be melting anyways once they're baked. Here we go. So about 2 tablespoons. And last but not least, no, I think this is where I am going to actually stop. And I'm going to then just put it on the side, and we're going to pretend that it's been baked. I will not bake my cheese here during the show for a simple reason is that it takes about 10 to 12 minutes, and I would have to take it out of the oven, and I don't think we're ready for that yet, but it looks very, very similar. Once you've taken out the cheese from the oven, make sure that you have a recipient under it, a oven resistant dish, and you can pour again. Once it's done, you pour again a little bit more of your maple syrup and a few more raspberries just for decoration. So we have actually now finished a French Canadian dip. And what would you eat it with? I'll let you know once we've done all the cheese what you can eat it with. Absolutely exquisite. Okay, we're slowly going to go to the second cheese. Now this is a different kind of cheese. This is a camembert. It's not a brie. It looks like a brie, much smaller in this case. And if you really want to share it, or maybe not share it, maybe you want to eat it on your own, right? That could also be. Then it's all yours and no one else's. So you would then choose a recipient that would fit this particular cheese. Now, this is too large, although you can use that as well. Not a problem. And again, it's the same thing now. You can remove the topping, and in this case, I'm going to remove it and not necessarily use it. Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to ask my cameraman again. How many are we? Maybe 3? Maybe 3. Okay, good. So, can you, cameraman, can you see this cheese here in the picture? Wonderful. Okay, so we have the camembert, and I've removed almost the upper layer, and this is only to allow the maple syrup again. This is a second Canadian cheese dip, because once it's melted, it'll run. So it's so easy to dip into it. Okay, so we'll cut into it. 2, 3, and you can see, you just make sure that it's all nicely open. The camembert needs a little more flavor. There we go, and it's room temperature. It'll be absolutely exquisite. So I'm going to place this now on the platter, and I'm going to pour just a little bit of the maple syrup on top. And can you guess which toppings I'm going to be using now? What do I call this? This is your classic. This is your classic, classic romantic camembert dip. Very simple, very quick, and everyone loves it, as everyone loves the first one as well. But the mixture will be just ever so slightly different. Okay, the classic will have walnuts only without the pecan nuts. So we're going to sprinkle just a few on dry roasted walnuts. There we go, not too much. And as you can see, it's already running on the side, which is perfect. Because once you've actually melted it or baked it for about 10 minutes, you bring it back, put it right on top of the maple syrup that's running on the platter, exactly how it should be. And it's very pretty too. Okay, so we have the walnuts, and we're going to be using the almond flakes. I'm just going to sprinkle them. That's your classic, and a classic which now we're moving more towards France. That's your classic mixture, typically also eaten in France, and French Canada, of course. The French came from France originally. We're going to be using this knife, and we love to use figs with camembert. Now, we're going to cut it lengthwise. You can actually slice it. This is one way of doing it. You can slice it or you can square it. And you can actually leave the top. It's very, very pretty. There we go. I hope you're able to see it. It's very, very pretty form of decoration. There, two. And another slice right on top. In the meantime, I'm just going to put this on the side. And what else do we need? We need berries. Here we have a mixture of different berries. We have blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, maroon berries, and strawberries, of course, and the typical sour cherries the Germans absolutely love. Canadians, we also have sour cherries, but in Canada we have the berry mixture as well, but without the sour cherries. You can buy them separately at an Iranian store if you're into that. Lovely, exquisite sour cherries. If you're in Canada, just go to an Iranian store, or you order them from Amazon, but then they're dried, which is fine as well. Okay, so here we go, a couple of tablespoons. There we go. And another one. I know it's going to run on the side, which is not a problem at all. Makes the platter pretty. There, right on top. And perhaps some cilantro while, in other words, just to give it a flavor while it's baking. There we go. Just a little less. That's also good. Okay. Now we're going to be cutting the figs in half. Not all of them. This is just for decoration. And one whole one. And here's the other whole one. And we're going to add a few more berries. I have the other berries here. Very, very typical for our area. I forgot the name. maybe my husband knows the name. Okay, I'm just going to decorate it just on the side and maybe on top. By the way, and if you bake them with these berries, which I forgot at this particular moment, the flavor is extremely sour but absolutely wonderful, and it's well combined with the figs. So we have the platter, and just to make it a little prettier, we're going to sprinkle just a little more of the maple flakes, and all around here too, just to make it part of the story. And we're going to add some almonds. This is so that guests can just grab the nuts and dip the nuts into the cheese as well if they don't want to use bread. Why bread? You don't need the bread. You can use vegetables, you can use crackers, anything you want. Absolutely pretty. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this a little closer to the camera, and I hope I will be able to, that you will be able to see it. Okay, so I'm going to move this over to this side here, and I'm going to ask the cameraman if that's visible or not. Yes? Okay, we're not going to move anything, but I'm going to move this a little later. Okay, I'm going to clean this. Okay, this is, it'll be a bit sticky, but that's fine. Okay, so for those of you who have so far enjoyed the program, I have shown you now 2 different dips, and you can in fact assemble them very pretty, very much like in any well-known hotels or restaurants. And I've been doing a lot of touching as well, as much as you can. And why? We are in a holistic station. This platform is spiritual, and this is the reason why I am going to now go into explaining why we are, for example, touching the bread, or when we make the bread, or when we prepare the bread, or when we're eating the food. We are actually touching the food and inserting the food into our mouth. Are we conscious of it? Most of the time we are not. And this is where we should, in fact, start thinking completely different. And that is to become conscious of the fact that you are appreciating your food and you're enjoying your food, especially the ones who have prepared. In other words, if you've prepared your own food and you're going to be sitting down and enjoying this dish on your own, by all means, go bite by bite and enjoy it and appreciate it and be in gratitude. Enjoy the fact that you're touching, and there's a reason why you have to touch it. In my opinion, you have to touch it. And there's a connection between you the brain, your feeling, your emotions, and the food. How often have we, for example, eaten foods where we've had our dish, for example, in front of us and say, oh no, I don't want to eat it, but yet I'm hungry, so I am going to eat it. And then later on you're actually suffering the consequences. It could be a headache, it could be a tummy ache, or you're not happy, or you're not in accordance with what you've eaten, and then you regret having eaten that, or you feel guilty. That's exactly the point. The body, it's the body talking to you and saying, no, I don't want that food. This is not good for me today, or it's never good for me. And this is where you could start exploring, what do you really like? It's not you, it's your body. It's your body telling you what you like and what is good for you. So how about that? Let me know how that works next time when we meet again. We're going to be now doing recipe number 3. I'm going to move a few items here and just prepare myself for number 3. Okay. Number 3 is on a black platter as well. Here we go. I'm just going to move these to the side and bring my other items more towards the front. And the bread I will show you in a minute. As when we're done here, I'm going to show you how to decorate it with the bread. Okay, so can anyone guess how Canadian, or maybe not Canadian, the third cheese will be? So we're not working with the camembert. We're now going back to a brie. By the way, the same company that's available right across Europe, North America, in the United Arab Emirates, and right across the Gulf area. So wherever you're watching me from, most likely you will be able to find this particular make or brand or any other brand of your choice. Okay? And if you want to go to very high quality, why not? Why not? And if it's organic, even better. Hard to find, but even better. Okay, the same story. We have the back, we have the front. It's the same. I'm going to remove the top, but I am going to place it here. We've used this before. In fact, I've had some of the pieces from the smaller cheese. I'm going to leave them inside. They'll just add a little flavor. So I'm going to remove the top. This is simply to have the juices and the flavors fuse in with the cheese during the baking session. And again, just to remind you, if you're going to be baking this, make sure that you check your oven regularly during the 10-minute, because your oven may be faster or slower than mine. Mine is calibrated, but not everyone calibrates their ovens. And that's okay, as long as you know your oven. It's 180 for about 10 minutes. Some have it in for 12 minutes. And again, that depends on the temperature in your oven. And I strongly recommend that you check it every 4 to 5 minutes. You certainly don't want it to burn or to be too liquidy either. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to just place it on top. Oops, I'm just going to level it. There we go. Now tell me, are there any questions from anyone, Matthias? No questions? Anyone have questions before I continue? And you can ask questions. Now there are 5 of you. Oh boy, fantastic team. Thank you. I'd like to welcome all 5 of you. I'm sorry I cannot see your names, but I'd like to say hello to everyone. A personal hello to everyone. It's as if you were here with me and enjoying and sharing the food that I'm preparing for all of you. And I wish you could taste it. It would be so lovely, and we could have a lovely evening. But you know what? Maybe next time we'll meet somewhere. Okay, so here we go again. Incisions into the cheese. I'm going to be cutting. It's the same story as before, but there is a difference now. Canada, we have lots of Canadians. Like, I'm a Canadian as well, but many of us are naturalized Canadians, meaning I came from South America, from East European parents, German and Hungarian. We moved to Canada, became Canadians. What a privilege. So we brought our influences, our food culture influences into Canada. For example, many other cultures as well. And one of the very strong influences that were brought into Canada were brought in by Iranians, or some of them call themselves Persians. So we have a French-Canadian Persian fusion cheese dip. Totally delicious. I have to, we can't not have this evening. You have to absolutely replicate it as well. It's delicious. So what do Iranians or Persians like to use in their dishes? Can anyone guess? What is the most expensive spice on earth? I think it's the most expensive one, yes. Anyone can guess? Anyone can guess? Okay, I am going to guess for you. And that is the saffron, or as they call it, the zafaran. I used 1 teaspoon. That's a lot, but it's so exquisite. 1 teaspoon of the threads, and then I used the mortar and pestle and poured about 3 teaspoons of hot water. And let me show you how it looks like. And I hope you can see it. Matthias, is it visible? Yes? Okay. I hope you're able to see it. It's very, very, very strong in color, orange. And the fragrance, absolutely delicious. Okay, and let me just pour it right on top. One of the most expensive spices in the world, if not the most expensive. And we're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, about 4,000 euros per kilo. So you have to imagine the prices are going up, and that is on a monthly basis. And for those of you living in the United Arab Emirates, you can buy saffron from Iran as well. Just make sure it is authentic and not a mix. So here we go. This is so lovely. It actually takes it to a completely different take here. In other words, it almost tastes very much like a Persian rice dish or a Persian chicken dish because of the strength or the intensity of the zafaran. So what I did, I used almost 1 teaspoon. Actually, I did use 1 teaspoon of the saffron threads, mixed them with 3 teaspoons of water. But before I mix it with water, I actually used the mortar and pestle to powderize it. Okay, so we're done with this. Now, you can see, I'm going to show it to you just a little closer. This is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mixture. And the fragrance is just wonderful. And if you don't want anything else on it, this is perfect as well. However, we haven't stopped. We did say it's a romantic evening, didn't we? So we're going to justify it. The romantic evening means lots of other exotic things. And now I'm just going to take my notes. Okay, in Iran, they have many, many, many walnut plantations. I don't have Persian or Iranian walnuts, but these walnuts were roasted as well. And I'm going to sprinkle them. It's also very Canadian, but in this case, very, very Persian. In Iran, I lived in Iran for almost 3 years, and I gave birth to my daughter in Iran. And the walnuts were delicious. They were actually slender. I also had the wild walnuts, exquisite. Much, much different than the cultivated ones. They were, slightly darker, slender, and the flavor is very, very intensive. So you're not able to eat many walnuts, 4 or 5, and it's enough. So we have the walnuts on top of the zaffran mixture. And now, what do Iranians use instead of maple syrup? Can any of you guess? Well, I'm opening up the bottle. Oops. I hope I didn't. No, it's right out here. Okay. I'm going to, since I cannot see your name and I cannot see the answers, I'm going to guess for you. And I'm hoping to solve this issue with being able to see who is actually answering or who wants to participate. Okay, I'm going to actually, I hope this is going to work because we've just had an issue here. Okay, let me just, okay, we have it, I think we have it, I think we did. Not a professional way of doing it, but it worked. Okay, so instead of maple syrup, Iranians or the Persians are known to use pomegranate on almost everything, fresh or juiced, and the seeds and the syrup, but without sugar, absolutely without sugar. So Here we go. So it's the opposite of what we've been doing until now, is pouring maple syrup, which is sweet. So remember, so we have the savory cheese, we have the zaffaran, which is quite intensive, we have the walnuts, and now we're coming with the syrup. So it's your choice. You can buy with or without sugar. I always buy the one without, but this is a personal preference. So here we go. We're going to pour it right on top. Isn't this lovely? It's dark pomegranate. And if you cannot buy the pomegranate syrup, you can actually juice your pomegranate and then simply boil it down until it's become a syrup with or without sugar. So I'm going to pour a little more. Should I? Okay, I will. Okay, here we go. A little more, and we're talking about 2 tablespoons here. So the name here, it actually comes from Turkey, called Nazır Ekşisi. It's a brand name. You may not have this brand name, it doesn't matter. But what you can do is simply look in your store, in your local stores, Turkish stores, Persian store, Arabic stores maybe, if they have the pomegranate syrup, not nectar, syrup without sugar or with sugar. And if they don't have it, Amazon has it. It's a little more expensive, but they have it. Okay, now what else do Iranians have in their country? What really grows very, very well? They have something that most countries don't, but they have the barberries. Barberries are, I cannot equalize it to the cranberries, but it is sour. So the most similar berry that I can compare it with are cranberries. They're very small, very sour, and you can buy your own barberry bushes if you so wish, and then grow them at home. Most people don't, and I buy it. I buy my organic barberries from Iran via Amazon. So I have here, let's say 2 tablespoons, 2 heaping tablespoons or more. So let's just sprinkle the barberries. This is to give it some tartness. There we go. And this is very, 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 very Iranian. And what we're going to do now is now we have a choice. If you want it sweet, you can even pour a little bit, but not very much, of your maple syrup. I wouldn't, but if you wish, why not? Or even better, because you already have the pomegranate syrup. You wanted it sweet, and it's not going to fight with this. And this is grape syrup. It's in German Traubensirup, or in English grape syrup. Again, it's from Turkey. Iranians use it as well. Absolutely exquisite. If you wanted it sweet, then why not pour just a little bit of the grape syrup on top. And there you go. And it is very, very sweet. You don't pour much. At the most 2 tablespoons. If you want more, you can always pour more. Just make sure that you taste it. How does it smell like? It smells like very concentrated grape juice. Yeah, it does. If you're Canadian, American, or in the United Arab Emirates and you've had grape juice, which is what they like very much, yeah, it smells like grape juice, like your purple grape juice, but very, very intensively and very sweet. Lovely. Okay, so we have that. And last but not least, what else do we have? Iran is known for its rose water and roses, of course. Rose water perfume, rose water food, rose water on your rice, rose water on your meat, and it goes on. So we're going to pour, at the most, rose water you can buy anywhere in the United Arab Emirates, in the Gulf area. You can order it from Amazon if you actually wish. And Nilofer, you're very close to a wonderful store, and they have the same bottle. It's from Lebanon, which is a wonderful rose water. Iranian rose water you can buy as well. Ah, yes, you can. In the United Arab Emirates, yes, it's in a plastic bottle, 1 liter. Here, it's very difficult to find, so I buy the Lebanese one, which is wonderful. Or you can buy the rose water anywhere, and the amount of your choice. Now, here in this case, if you're not used to it, you only use half a teaspoon. If you love rose water, 1 teaspoon is enough. Otherwise, it becomes just too domineering. Okay, what else? In Iran, while we were living there, you give each other gifts. And what are the gifts? Predominantly pistachios. pistachios that were also dry roasted with a bit of salt and with lime. And look what I have here. I have the pistachios dry roasted, not with lime. They're very difficult to find, but anywhere else you can buy them, and you can also buy them from Amazon. So here we have about 2 tablespoons of pistachios. Now this is so romantic, wonderful. Okay, if you wish, what you can do is just add a bit more of the barberries, not much. And Iran is known for its oranges and for their clementine and for all the citrus fruits. So you can put these, just a few citrus wedges, not much, and otherwise around here, just around the cheese for decoration. And if you want to go beyond this, you can also have the walnuts around. What else do we have? We have the barberries, just for decoration. There. And what else do we have? Oh yes, we have more pistachios. Why not more pistachios? There we go. Okay, last but not least. Now, I hope you're able to see this. I'm going to bring it a little closer to the camera. Yes, this is exactly what it would look like. It's just wonderful. And then, just like with our French-Canadian brie and camembert, you're going to be pouring just a little more of the pomegranate syrup on top after you've baked the cheese, just for decoration so that it'll look pretty. And what we have here is bread, for those of you who wish to dip the bread into the cheese. So there we go, 3. And I also toasted tortillas. Why not? You can use any bread of your choice. There. Okay. So I'm going to just push this a little bit down. There we go. Whoops. We'll put these back again. And now we're going to decorate the other platter. I hope we can see it. Can we see it a little better now? Yes? Okay. I have also toasted pita bread. If you wish, you can use pita bread, you can use French bread, your bread of your choice. There, you can break it, and you can also bake these with oil and garlic, which is wonderful. And here we go, we can have this bread here, which is the pita bread. And this is now just for decoration on top or here on the side along the bread, which makes it look very fresh. And here we can put one on top also. There we go, for decorative purposes, with a little bit of cilantro. There we go. And a little more. Here, 1 and 1 more. Here on the side. Okay, so what we have done this evening, you've now learned 3 different Canadian cheese dips. They are not cheap, I know that. But they are, you don't make this every day, but it's for a special occasion. And it's so simple to put together when you know, or when you have unexpected guests and you're and you don't know what to cook, or you don't know what to do. Okay, I'm going to ask my cameraman, what time do we have, please?
45 Minuten.
Okay, 45 minutes. Thank you. Okay, so we're almost done. So now you've been introduced to the French Canadian cheese dip. We have many other dips, but this is one of them. Actually you learned the classic, then we have the French Canadian, and we have the Canadian or French Canadian Persian fusion cheese dip. And again, you can decorate it any way you want to. The most important thing here is how are you identifying them, and mainly through maple syrup, the nuts and the berries. Either they're dry, but make sure that all your nuts that you're going to be using are dry roasted. And if you want to add a bit of salt, add a bit of salt. If you want to add a little bit of honey and a bit of sugar, then they're not dry roasted, they're actually pan roasted with a bit of maple syrup and sugar until they're caramelized, and you can actually use that as a topping as well if you wish. Okay, So before I end, as I've said before, we are on a holistic platform, and it's important to continue, in other words, have the holistic aspect of the dishes that I'm making here. As I said before, it's a connection between you and the joy of putting food together. And it's not only for you, it's to be shared. And if you're unable to share it directly with someone for corona reasons or any other reason, then call someone up and make sure that you prepare the same thing, you replicate it together or in a group via Zoom. Sit down and enjoy it. It's a lovely way of enjoying, and one way of actually communicating through food. And you're communicating through food on your own already by touching it and by putting it together completely conscious, which means you, even at the end when you've finished your product and you sit down and say, no, I can't eat it, but it is pretty and it's wonderful, the others will like it, but your body's saying, no, not now, maybe later. Just listen to it. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so with this thought in mind, I'd like to thank you all. And if you don't have any questions, then I will end the program now. Now, there are 10 of you. My husband just told me that 10, 11. This is wonderful. All of you, thank you for having come on board and have enjoyed this program, I hope. And just to let you know, the program will be running on YouTube for my Emirati dishes. Very soon I will announce it on my Facebook, so you can also flip over and watch my YouTube Emirati dishes. Only Emirati for now on YouTube. Otherwise, on Bridges of Lights, I will have a mixture of dishes from many countries. Sometimes inside the house, sometimes outside, we'll see. And with this thought in mind, I'd like to thank you all once again. It was a lot of fun being with you. I wish I could share it with you. In a way, I am sharing it with you. And see you next time. Thank you again. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you. I'm going to go behind the camera now. Bye.